Let's break down the climactic face-off aboard the Invisible Hand where the Sith Lord Tyrannus met his fate at the hands of the Chosen One, the Anakin Skywalker. To understand the events of one of the first duels, we must break down the individual fighting styles and capabilities, both Anakin and Dooku. So let's begin with Count Dooku. Count was most known for his lightsaber wielding skills. He was a dueling prodigy in his early years while training at the Jedi Temple. He was naturally gifted in the Force, but spent most, if not all of his time honing his skills with blade-to-blade combat sparring and practicing for hours on end with the Temple's training bots. Unlike most Jedi, Dooku decided to exclusively specialize in Form 2 lightsaber combat known as Makashi. Makashi was a lightsaber combat form that was specifically tailored for blade-to-blade combat, developed during the very early days of the Jedi Order. While it was still in its infancy concerning the blade in the days of the Ancient Order, there was only one other version of lightsaber combat known as Shicho. There was a split when Shichoism was in practice in the Jedi Order, where the newly found Dark Jedi ceded and began a war. During this era, a new lightsaber form was founded to combat their saber-wielding opponent. Dooku would hone his combat abilities until the point where he was deemed the greatest swordsman of the Jedi Order, even the greatest swordsman of his time during his time as a Padawan. He was able to pass 2 Jedi Masters in single combat, an event that was exceedingly rare, striking them down and having to be forced to stop. The reason being he had reason to believe that they were using the dark side, and Dooku wanted an excuse to provide his dominance and destroy them. Following this event, many of the Jedi Masters feared the young Dooku, many except one Grandmaster Yoda himself. It was practically unheard of for a council member, much less the Jedi Grand Master, to take on a Padawan. This was big news. At the time, Yoda would go on to teach Dooku in the ways of the Force. Dooku was not only a master at the blade and adapted the Force, but he was also an expert at the psychological warfare side of Blade. During the Revenge of the Sith, in their final duel, Dooku would try this on Anakin and goad him into dipping into the dark side, something that he was unfortunately successful at. Dooku is still considered by many to be the greatest outright swordsman in all of Star Wars, and many believe that he may have weakened at the time of Revenge of the Sith, as the novelization for Revenge of the Sith confirming that Dooku is far from his pride. Now, let's move on to Anakin Skywalker. Anakin was a renowned duelist in his own right, with a couple of victories under his belt. Despite some of his impulsive tendencies, he led the 501st to many victories. During the war, and at a time of Revenge of the Sith, he had widely been regarded by the Republic as the hero of the Clone Wars and the poster child for the Jedi Order, thanks in part due to the publicity that was orchestrated by Palpatine. Anakin Skywalker was a practitioner of Form 5 lightsaber combat. By creating more offense in the way of combat, the direct opposite with its entirety revolving around an overwhelming offense with its defense mainly consisting of counterattacks, going along with the statement that a best defense is a good offense. The Gemzo is so aggressive, in fact, that it is the most physically demanding of all 7 lightsaber forms, even more so than that of a Taru, based on the Gemzo's emphasis on power strikes with the Taru. You just had to be quick with the gem, so you had to be quick and strong. Practitioners of Form 5 are usually those of taller stature, with more emphasis on using their muscle mass aided by the Force. But of course, dueling style isn't everything, as Dooku was able to best Anakin. On many of their encounters, Anakin may have had Dooku backpedaling for the majority of the fight, but it seemed as though Dooku was more still in control of the duels. It is worth noting that Sidious had told Dooku to take it easy on Anakin, and he wanted to test Skywalker's limits, and then see the Chosen One's power for himself. In all of their duels, Dooku is in fact testing and, in a strange way, teaching Anakin Skywalker, as in every single duel Anakin had with Dooku, he grew in power. Despite losing all but one after taking Kenobi out of the picture, Anakin's anger was slowly beginning to be unleashed on the Invisible Hand. The Count would go on to say, "I sense great fear in you, Skywalker. You have hate, you have anger, but you don't use them." With the Sith Lord poking and prodding, pushing all of Anakin's buttons, Finally, the young Jedi Knight gave in to the allure of the dark side. For even just a moment, he unleashed his fury on Darth Tyranus, and Dooku was unprepared for the well of power within the young boy. Dooku was forced into a position that he did not want to be in, the defense. No longer taking it easy and finding himself in a fight for his life. Anakin, though, had gone into a calculated rage, battering his opponent's defenses away with measured ferocity. As we mentioned before, Makashi has a hard time generating momentum, which happens to be something that Gemzo is very good at, meaning that the two lightsaber styles do not actually match up. And though on the surface you would say that Makashi would have the advantage here, the second a practitioner of Gemzo gains this momentum, the fight is over. Anakin calculatedly beat down the Count's wall of defense before finally taking advantage of the opening and exacting his revenge by taking double of what the Count had once taken from him, his hands. And now here we are again, Dooku on his knees at the mercy of the budding Vader, with Palpatine praising him from the side and urging for the Sith Lord's execution. Anakin at this point still believes in the virtues of the Republic, in the Jedi way, so he doubts himself for a moment. Palpatine, however, sensed how much he desired to take revenge for what Dooku had done to him, and all the horrors that Tyrannus had turned loose on the galaxy during the war. So all it took was two simple yet effective words, "Do it." And with that, Count Dooku was no more. The whole plan of Palpatine being kidnapped was also that he could lure Anakin there, so that he could see his true power in person. It was also an underhanded attempt to get rid of Dooku, because as stated before, Sidious was threatened by him and his rising power. He needed a quick way to dispose of him so that he could make room for his new and more powerful apprentice. So, my Jedi Masters, how do you like this video? Comment below to let me know. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.